Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Hello, my fellow critical thinkers. Thank you so much for watching. There are only a handful of things that I hate more than people spreading the bogus of divine healings. Yeah, my child, parent, brother or sister was so horribly ill, and then Jesus came along, and he has been healing them. Praise the Lord, he saved our lives. Well, of course, all of this is nonsense. There is not one case in medical history that proves any involvement of any supposed God in any medical recovery process. But it's even worse. In many supposed divine healings, there's not even sufficient medical evidence that someone was ill in the first place. Even the examples that are most praised by the community of faith-healing nutcases prove absolutely nothing. Why do I hate this so much? Because the damage done to science and the public is immeasurable. Bogus stories about Jesus healing people from serious health conditions undermine the trust in medical science and discredit the work of actual doctors who save lives on a daily basis. The long-term effect this can have on society is disastrous. No, medical science cannot heal all diseases, and we don't know if that ever will be the case, but the only way to advancement is more funding for more medical science research. Pretending that some Jesus character can overrule medical science by just appearing and raising his hand is an insult to humanity that over time could lead to people not visiting proper doctors and even politicians decreasing funding for life-saving medical science research. These bogus faith-healing propagandists are killing our people in the long term, so they need to be stopped. Just to make it very clear, real faith healing does not exist. There is no proven example of divine healing in the entire history of medicine. So all known cases that might be presented all lack sufficient evidence to prove anything. These faith healing clowns mostly appear in two kinds. There's the category of roadshow frauds, mostly consisting of Christian church officials like pastors who present someone's grandma who supposedly cannot walk or something, and then the pastor lays his hand on their head, starts yelling some Jesus crap, and pretends that he is divinely possessed or something, and then grandma walks again. These pastors are mainly frauds who manage to separate their gullible and vulnerable followers from their money. This is very sad, but not even the worst category. The worst category are Christians who have actual medical degrees. Actual medical doctors who promote this faith-healing garbage do the most damage because of the status and trusted position they have in society. Having said all of this, I want to show you an example of such a damaging case of fake divine healing, presented by, of course, Christian apologists. Let's have a look at this.
Welcome to Testable Faith. I'm Ken Samples.
It's funny that you call your show Testable Faith, because faith, in the way it is described by most Christians, is basically untestable. Faith is a pretty meaningless concept that can be described best as believing something without there being sufficient evidence to prove anything whatsoever. The only reason why faith exists is because you cannot provide testable evidence for the existence of your God.
Today I'm joined by scholar, community member, and visiting scholar Joseph Bergeron, MD.
Oh wow, a man with an academic degree. That sure gives me the confidence that he won't be telling nonsense within a few minutes.
You're a doctor, you're tough-minded, you look at evidence, you're asked questions medically and legally.
And this host says that Dr. Bergeron is very trustworthy, so then it must be true.
Have you ever seen what you would describe as a legitimate miracle?
Yes, and...
never mind. He already shows to be a nutcase in his first sentence. Christian apologists never fail to disappoint.
And I'm kind of a hard case. I'm hard to convince.
Yeah, I know that.
No, you're not hard to convince, because you somehow believe in an invisible sky wizard who sends his zombie offspring to magically take away diseases that he created himself in the first place. None of that makes any sense. None of that is supported by sufficient evidence. Yet you believe it. So you're the opposite of hard to convince.
prayer for the sick is probably the most common form of alternative medicine. You know, what mother doesn't pray for their sick child?
Right.
Right.
What mother does not pray for her child? Well, at least the 4 million mothers in your own country alone who do not believe in the existence of a God, and the 25 million mothers in Europe who do not believe in a God, and the 300 million mothers in Asia who do not believe in a God. So, plenty of them.
When I was a young person in my early 20s, I had the privilege and honor to know a lady named Betty Baxter.
Ah, Betty Baxter, the woman who claimed she had all sorts of horrible illnesses and also claimed she was miraculously healed by Jesus. Luckily, you are now investigating this, and since you are a real medical doctor who is hard to convince, the first thing you will do is present us the evidence that shows that Miss Baxter was ill in the first place. Because without that, there is no good reason to believe that she was cured from anything. Wouldn't you agree?
She had a very miraculous sort of healing, perhaps the most dramatic healing miracle of the 20th century.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Well, that indeed is an extraordinary claim. And as you as a scientist know, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
She was born with congenital scoliosis. People know scoliosis is a curvature of the spine. Doctors told her that her bones were matted together and
No, you don't know if that is true. Betty Baxter herself claimed that doctors had said that to her. But you have no official or professional statement from any of the doctors who supposedly treated her. And that is what you should have said. You shouldn't have said, her doctors told her. You should have said, Miss Baxter claimed that doctors told her. All we have is Betty Baxter's own testimony and the claims of her family and some local newspaper articles repeating her claims. No hospital files, no signed physician reports or diagnoses, no hospital scans or pictures are available to verify any of her claims. If you are so hard to convince, then how are you convinced of her being ill in the first place if there's not even one official medical record that confirms her illness? You don't seem hard to convince. Instead, it seems you're pretty gullible.
And in her time, in the 1930s, their diagnostic technology would be X-ray.
Sure, but then why don't you show any of these X-ray pictures that can confirm her illness? Or at least explain why you can't produce those X-ray pictures. But that seems to be a slippery slope, isn't it? Because if your audience finds out that there are no X-ray pictures, they might find out that there are no medical files whatsoever.
And with scoliosis, the bones sometimes do not fully separate from each other, the spine bones.
Okay.
Cardiac problems are common among children with congenital scoliosis, up to 54%. Most of them are septal defects. That means the chambers of the heart did not adequately close off in development.
Yeah, we all know. You're an actual medical doctor, so you know a lot about all kinds of medical conditions. But giving general descriptions of medical conditions doesn't prove that Betty Baxter had any of them. And of course, you know that, don't you?
And so she had heart disease. She had an enlarged heart, she said, twice its normal size.
Aha, so she told you that her heart had twice the normal size. And because Miss Betty Baxter told you this, you believe it, because that is how medical doctors do their diagnosis.
She had kidney stones. Kidney stones in a pediatric population are pretty rare.
Again, how did you establish that Betty Baxter had kidney stones? Because there is no medical record of that.
She describes a period of time, or a couple periods of time, where she was became deaf-blind and couldn't move her tongue.
Ah, deaf and blind. Mr. Bergeron, I've not found your official year of birth, but I expect it to be around 1958. So when you spoke to Betty Baxter in your early 20s, that must have been around 1980. Her supposed healing was in 1941. So because Betty Baxter herself told you that 40 years earlier she was deaf and blind, you believe her without there being any medical file to prove it? And that is your professional opinion as a medical doctor. Is that true?
She had a very intimate relationship with Jesus Christ in the sense that he would come and speak with her audibly, frequently.
Ah, yes, of course. By now, I'm not surprised that you believe that kind of stuff as well. Hard to convince, eh? It's laughable. I could sell you sand in the Sahara and you would buy it.
And he finally told her that I'm going to come and heal you on August 24th of 1941. Jesus told her he was going to come at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes, sure. Jesus said, I will meet you at 3 o'clock, because Jesus had another appointment at 2 o'clock. And Jesus thought, I can just make it at 3 o'clock to the Baxter family. And then afterwards I will be changing some wine into water at the baby shower next door, because pregnant women shouldn't drink alcohol. You know, Jesus is a guy with a very busy schedule. So, 3 o'clock and Jesus will be at the Baxters, and Dr. Bergeron knows all of this for sure, because Miss Baxter told him. And if she said it happened, then it happened. That is how trained medical doctors determine what is true.
The curtains were swaying, a door slammed, and it was calm outside, but there's wind in the house, and a cloud forms, and Jesus steps out of the cloud.
Yes, and then Jesus did one of his magical spells, and Miss Baxter was healed.
Now, you've written a book about her life, about the miracle.
Oh, how stupid of me. I always focus on the content. I think substance is the thing that matters. But of course, this Christian apologist wants to sell his book because he wants to make money. Look, this is all total nonsense. A show on a YouTube channel calling itself Testable Faith comes with a ridiculous claim of the Jesus character healing some woman 85 years ago. There is even no medical evidence for this woman to be ill in the first place. Yet there is a present-day medical doctor who, without any evidence to support it, says, yes, this woman had all these diseases and Jesus healed her because some lady told me, and that is good enough for me. Now move away and let me sell my book. Unfortunately, there are still people who think that science and Christianity go together hand in hand. All of that is nonsense. Dr. Bergeron is a very clear example who shows that science and religion cannot go together. Because when Christians do science, eventually their science will be overruled by their Christian brainwash, damaging the status of science, lowering human intellect, and luring gullible and vulnerable followers into the greedy hands of reprehensible faith healers. Faith healing is one of those plagues that should not exist. We should have dumped it, together with witch burning, the Crusades, and the Inquisition. Thanks for watching.